You're on record again, Val.
Remember, uh-oh,
Yeah.
careful now.
Keep it in line.
Keep it in line.
My table is.
Let's go in here. Okay, who did we lose? Just a couple people, didn't we?
Who lost
They're
the
probably
Aaron
washing
Lewis?
hands.
The Aaron Lewis, washing hands. All right. So, did this drive the point home perfectly for you about group process? What do you guys know about group process? Do anything? Forming, right? Storming, norming, performing, adjourning. Yes? I hope what you take away from this is that it's normal, it's natural, it's in the natural development of things, that you're going to duke it out a little bit, and with awareness and kindness, you can get through it, and you can be a fantastical group too, right? A GAP group too. Any questions or concerns about things I mentioned? And you're like, hey, but what about anything that I talked about that came up that you didn't? Just, I'm sure all of your GAP groups love each other, right? You guys all love each other, and you're all perfect.
Do you have any tips for getting out of storming? Anything that helps get you more into the norming?
Out of storm, and it talks about it, that they need to do, things that you need to do. There's some things on the back of your page too. Help the group understand that conflict is normal and necessary for group development. So that's my biggest thing. If you break off and you fester and you make little subgroups and you nitpick at each other, just see what she was doing, see what he was doing, right? Then it stays in that place. And if you call it to the carpet and you're like, wow, we're having a really tough time right now, and what can we do to solve this problem? Communication, honest, kind communication always helps. Having an intervention on your leader that you don't like her anymore and she's not the boss of you never helps, which sometimes that's what groups want to do. Hey, let's sit down so-and-so and tell them we're not listening to her anymore. Don't do that. Kind communication. If it feels like iMessages, I feel like something's going on here, and what can we do to move this group forward? So that's the big thing of knowing that storming is not where you have to end up. It's not where you have to live. It's just part of the process. And letting yourself flow through it and get to the next level. And then the next level feels pretty good, right? But not getting stuck there. And not getting stuck either in stage 2 or stage 3, but just keep it moving. Keep it moving.
Is there a risk of staying in stage 1, like being afraid to storm, being afraid to work through the conflicts?
Usually the quieter people would probably prefer that, but usually the people that move the group forward are just going to move you forward anyway. Because things got to get done. You can't really stay that polite and kind and get anything done. Somebody has to make the PowerPoint. Somebody has to figure out what we're saying. Somebody has to do the timing. Somebody has to do all this stuff, and the motion is what moves you forward. Because you have to. You have an assignment, right? You have your date set of when you're practicing, and you've got your assignment set of when your stuff has to be done. So that almost always moves us forward. Whether we like, and I feel like it moves us forward pretty fast in GAP. Normally this type of group would play out even longer in therapy. Like all of these stages would play out longer if we were a big group therapy session. But GAP, it moves pretty fast just because of the pace. We gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. We gotta get this done, right? Other questions, concerns, comments? All right, I think I'm done. Thank you kindly. Thank you for all your patience with me. I practiced this for 2 hours this morning before I Just kidding you. I have
5 or
a
6
different
times.
style of presentation than her person. I am not a presenter professor. What is she? She's marketing?
Marketing communication.
That's her jam, right?
Yeah, she's pretty good.
I'm a therapist. That's all. That's all I am. I'm a comedian.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you. Thank you kindly, guys. How do you feel?
I'd like to just take a few minutes to hear from you guys. What are some of the key takeaways from both of the sessions that you're going to, that you've gotten or you're going to take back to your group? Some of you guys have team members who are not here. What might you tell them that you learned today?
Try doing the storyboard before. And there are a lot of things in the first part that I took, like the appendix part of the presentation. There are a lot of useful things that we're going to think about.
What else?
Even if a group kind of just like feels like we're never gonna get along, so we're never gonna get anything accomplished, like it's just natural and you're gonna work through it.
What else? Anything else? I'm pausing, right? Giving you time to process. We all learned something here.
I just have a question for the groups. Every group is different, every semester is different, but did you see, are you experiencing some of the things that were talked about today as you're getting close to working on your presentation and the tension's increasing as it gets closer? Is it resonating with you?
Our group is doing pretty well together, I think, which is very fortunate.
Right.
Like really conflict the whole semester, so that's good.
No, that's good. I mean, you know, Valerie had a group that came together like that. And my first time having a group like that was also in grad school. But while we started at that stage where, oh my gosh, it's all going, well, this is wonderful, the first time. Oh, halfway through we had somebody who just stopped coming to meetings and, you know, every excuse in the book and I've got work and all kinds of stuff and we didn't know what we were going to do. Our presentation was coming up. So we very much got into that stormy phase and just had to come through it. And when we got to that gratitude stage, even her issues of what was going on in her life, we needed to be less judgmental about it. We needed to work with her, find out what she did have time for, solve the problem. That was a big life lesson for me that I just went through 2 or 3 years ago. So I hope you're experiencing some of that or expect to.
As I've seen with a variety of GAP teams, as we get closer to the practice presentation and certainly to the final presentation, oftentimes there might be, you know, somebody that's, you know, having maybe not, the team perceives that they're not carrying their weight or they're not doing, you know, what is expected. So that can often be a source of frustration. Based upon what you heard from Valerie and some of the things that we talked about with the group process, how might you approach that if you, in this team or in any other team, end up having a person who is you know, not contributing in the way that you might want them to? How might you treat that? Do you just ignore it? Is that going to be helpful?
I think talking to the person would be the wisest, and then being flexible if the person can like help outside of class with, or if we can meet outside and schedule other meetings with this person.
Okay. So is it important for them to know, as we kind of talked maybe back to the charter in the beginning, you know what's expected, but also treat it with kindness and understanding, and try to figure out, you know, is there something going on that's making it challenging for this person? So, you know, as you run into these things, try to dig deep into some of the things that we've tried to provide to help you. You know, that charter that you can refer back to and say, hey, you know, at the beginning of the semester, we kind of all agreed this was important for us to do a good job for the client or do a good job so we could get experience. Are you still in with us on that? Is there something that's going on? Can we help you? You know, that kindness, that love, that approach of trying to understand. Keep those kind of tools in mind. Every situation is going to have a unique characteristic, but I challenge you guys not to you know, ignore and avoid the conflicts. Work through them and try to come to some resolution that will be successful for your team. Maybe you'll be a team that doesn't have any of those big issues to deal with, or maybe you'll be one that's got an issue like that every 5 minutes. It could, you know, there's a lot of variation. All right. Returning back to some of the details about the presentations, Are you guys clear on what is going to be expected? So your coach can help you out a little bit, but there are some things that are generally expected for a GAP presentation. Are you all clear on about how long your presentation, first of all, are you clear when your presentation will be? Does everybody know when their final presentation is? Okay, if you don't know when your final presentation is, consult with your coach and Erin. All right, and then do you all have the practice presentation date on your calendars or on your plans? So you know you're aiming towards that.
Something I want to highlight, just having seen, I guess this is my 4th semester now, seeing these final presentations, it stuck out with me about the regional bank group. Their presentation was very strong, yes, because they were coached by Mindy, but also because they did take that dress rehearsal as a dress rehearsal. And even in their words, they considered that their final, and then they tweaked it for 2 weeks after that. So I would just strongly encourage you to approach it that way as well. The teams that come to the dress rehearsal kind of, as they initially did for their practice, you know, wearing whatever they want, we've got a couple slides, but we're not sure, they just don't get as far, don't get as much out of it, don't wow the clients as much. So I think I would really encourage you all to take that approach and consider your dress rehearsal your final presentation. And that will give you plenty of time and take a lot of stress off of you those last 2 weeks.
Right. And I asked those guys the question about frustrations they might experience, because I've seen with a number of GAP presentations, I know some of the students here have been on a variety of presentations, some of the coaches here have seen that. And unlike in another class where you put your whole self into something and you prepare it, you know, for that grade, you go and it's done. Here you get to the practice presentation and don't be surprised if 80 or 90% of your content has to be substantially revised. A lot of people who tend to take GAP, you know, many students who participate in GAP are ones that typically like to go above and beyond and have performed well in a lot of their classes. And that can be really intimidating when you come to that practice presentation and somebody says, hey, I don't get this, or you need to really rethink the whole way you're doing it. We're not telling those things because we're disappointed with what you've done. We're trying to get you to take it to that next level. So keep that in mind when you hear the critiques that you will naturally hear after your practice presentation or your dress rehearsal. Don't be surprised and disappointed and frustrated when you have to redo a lot of it. I tell you that now so you're ready for that, and also so you plan for the time that it'll take. So that time in between the dress rehearsal and the final presentation can be pretty intensive in terms of reworking and really getting things to that top performance level for your final presentation. And let's see, how many of you guys in here have already been through a GAP project? Okay. How much change was there between your practice and your final? Huge. Okay. And how did, and for what teams were you all on again? You were on food waste. You were on like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scholars for Syria.
Scholars for Syria. All right. So in all of these different ones, there was substantial revision in between. Yeah, some more or less depending on the projects. After having put in that work between the practice presentation and the final presentation and going in there and giving it to your client, how did you feel?
It made it worth it. It made every second worth it.
It's worth it, yeah. And would that be your experience as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I just mentioned that now to kind of set you up for the fact that there's going to be a lot of work that you're getting ready to do. A lot will be expected. You'll have to do a lot of revisions. But for the most part, when we've seen students present to their clients at the end, the sense of accomplishment because of all of that hard work that you're putting in now and you'll put in the next few weeks makes it well worth it. Erin, what other logistical details do you have or any other
Nothing
things?
logistical. I have one little 3-minute video to leave with you because something Dr. Griffin said reminds me of something I see every time in these GAP semesters. There's a reason you're here. You raised your hand and said, I want to do something difficult, I want to do something challenging, I want to make a difference. And I just want to encourage you as you're in that really difficult part of, you kind of have a sort of sense of what your deliverable is now. The sheer amount of work that you have to get done in between now and the end of the semester might be daunting. But the fact that you're in that and you're doing that is a good thing. And I actually have, it's kind of become my unofficial GAP motto of fail harder. It's framed in my office for a reason to remind me too to not approach problems in a standardized way. Yes, you can just go through college taking tests and quizzes, and that you'll learn a lot, and that's fine. But doing something like this where you don't know the outcome, and that can be a little fuzzy in the middle here, I think you'll find it very worthwhile at the end, particularly if you listen to some of the tips that Valerie and Mindy and the students talked about. So I just want to share this little brief video with you. And again, husband's a basketball coach, so lots of sports analogies in my life. But this one I've actually just watched on my own for fun. So I ask you to keep this in mind as you go forward. We have sounds. That's not it. The sound is always, do you remember where the sound is
Yeah,
here?
there's an actual here.
Over here. Just there. And different in every classroom. Yeah, put it, yeah, put it in. There you go. Yep.
Pushing back the vulnerable mentality, it takes.
Thank you. Replace player with the word gap student.
I've never seen somebody so afraid to fail. I've never seen a society so afraid to fail. Pride and ego have taken the forefront of athletes' work ethic, pushing back the vulnerable mentality it takes to improve one's game. We obsess over perfection while forgetting the process of imperfection it takes to get there. Show me a player who's shooting 100% in practice, and I'll show you a player who's not taking game-like shots. Show me a player who doesn't lose the ball, and I'll show you a player who isn't going hard enough. Show me a player who doesn't make mistakes, and I'll show you a player who's not getting better. It's funny because the other day, a player came up to me and said, "Hey Trey, how many free throws did you miss?" I said, 14. What about you? He said with a smirk on his face, 0. I said, well, how many did you shoot? He said 15. I said, I shot 100, fail harder. I challenge every hooper who steps foot on that court, fail harder. Don't worry about what your coach may think, don't worry about your friends judging you, nobody. Any coach who bashes you for taking a risk and making a mistake, he's no longer a coach, he's a critic. Any friend who judges you for your mistakes in practice aren't your friends anyway. While they're busy critiquing, let's get better. Let's see who really has the last laugh. Tell them to enjoy their time now, because our time is coming. All we did was take the long way, the right way. Fail harder now, so you can succeed easier later.
So just a little reminder as you gear up for the fun part, and we can't wait to see your presentations. We are here also to support you the entire time. If you want us to meet with you, book you a practice room, a classroom, you're not sure, you want to get access to your final presentation room early to try something out, don't hesitate to let me know.
No, I think if those of you who are actively using EduSource, there are a few sample presentations that show some ways that you might be able to use PowerPoint to animate things or just some things like that. We're happy to provide other samples if it's relevant, but I think as Mindy said, to get that storyboarding going and do that work together as a team, that's going to be really important.
Peer evaluations are coming out soon. If they haven't already, they come from EduSource directly. I've put in a request to find out if they've already gone out or which day, but very soon.
Have any of you guys received those yet?
Okay, good.
Okay.
Those are out. Please do fill those out. We'll give your coaches an update in a few days on who hasn't yet. It's very, very important for grading and obviously for managing any kind of group conflict, so be honest on those.
All right.
Okay.
I think that we're good. So,
Yeah, thanks, guys,
I look
and
forward
thank
to
you,
seeing your
Valerie.
work. Thank you.
No.
Don't go volunteer.